All right. Hello, everyone. We are going live. Welcome to another installment. Happy Friday of Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. Briefly, I will tell you that the Get a Clue in 52 series started back in 2019 when I wrote this version, the first version. And we came up with 5 categories, and I was striving to get 10 tips in each category. And we put 2 extra tips in the marketing section to have a year's worth. And basically, this is a marketing project. It's a book, but it's not to do a lot of book sales and be rich writing a book. It's more of a marketing project. It's a way to be on social media consistently once every week. So that's what we did. In 2020, I read 1 tip out of the book every Sunday night at 8 p.m. And I found all the mistakes that I made in the book, and then I corrected them and cleaned it up and came out with this version. Same book. It's the first book, but it's cleaned up. I spelled my name correctly and all those sorts of things. But the 5 categories here were communication, networking, marketing, sales, and accountability. And like I said, we had 2 extra tips in the marketing section to get a year's worth. So for 2 years in a row, I read these tips every Sunday night. The first year I would stream into the Facebook group, Get a Clue in 52. The second year in 2021, I streamed them all into my YouTube channel, Watch Get a Clue. All right. Then last year in 2022, we came out with the Entrepreneur Edition. So the 5 categories in this edition, co-authored by my friend and client Vipul Dayal. We actually did it in each of our branding. So it was a co-authored project, but we have 2 different ISBN numbers. We changed the title slightly. It's the same book, but one's written from his point of view, one's written from my point of view, and we co-marketed, co-branded, etc. So this was fun. And the 5 categories here were personal branding, business acumen, business ownership, leadership and influence, and work-life balance. All 52 tips are all related to being an entrepreneur. And Vipul Dayal is the serial go-giver. You know, he's got several businesses that he runs. In addition to that, he has a Charity for Hope, and it's a treat to support him on the communication endeavors. But this is the history of Get a Clue in 52. And so it got me to this year, and I decided that I wanted to do a version for coaches, myself included. And I say that because as I wrote the book for aspiring and emerging coaches, like, hey, I've been in the game for 17 years. I have a lot to give. And I've been reminded of that last year and this year as I volunteered to be on the board of an organization called California Coaches that had last year that we merged that organization with formerly San Diego Professional Coaches Alliance, now Professional Coaches Alliance. So I find myself as VP of Communication for the Professional Coaches Alliance. And I'm volunteering and I'm giving back, and I'm creating to the Professional Alliance Association that is there to support aspiring and emerging coaches. What I'm learning is a lot of coaches that have been around the block longer than I have. So as I'm looking up to people like Margot, and I'm adding Sue to the conversation now, Margot and Tom Teague, and even others that have come before me, like founders of some of these organizations, I realized I got a lot to learn. Even though I've been in the game for a while, I got a lot to learn. So I was not painfully, but joyfully reminded of that as I went to write this book for aspiring and emerging coaches. I was reminded of all of the struggles that I went through, of what I had to learn to get where I was, of what I still deal with, and the embarrassing moments, and the relief of the things that I don't have to go through anymore. And it's all about giving back and making a contribution to the profession, you know, to the collective skill sets that allow somebody to coach either for a living or to be better at what other form of leadership they're into. So yeah, this is Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included, but you don't have to be a coach to get value from the book. If you're a leader in any form and you want to add the skill sets, perspectives, techniques, know-hows of a coach to your leadership toolbox, all you got to do is hear the way I'm speaking to aspiring and emerging coaches and map it to whatever your form of leadership is, and it all still applies. And let me know if you ever want some one-on-one help with the mapping. But Sue, let me say hello to you right away. How are you? Happy Friday.
Yeah, I'm good. Good to be here.
Saturday for you, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, all the way down under. It's Saturday for you. So you know what I mean when I say happy Friday. I say happy. All right. So here we go. So just as a matter of review, when I was creating the banner for today, and I didn't even get to it, which is funny. I still have to create today's banner. But I was deleting some of the old banners that are stored up in this StreamYard studio. And we want to welcome everybody, of course, but this book, this year's book, let me talk to you about the 5 categories. First of all, we have 11 tips in section 1, engagement. And instead of reviewing each of those tips as I was doing earlier in the year, I thought, well, look, here's all the Cluby snacks that emerged in this section from the 11 tips. Here's one Cluby snack about never minimizing ourselves with the word just, and always being honest about knowing that we're always more than a coach. Even if all we want to do is coach, we're always more than a coach, and being honest about why we coach, and especially about the compensation piece and the income earning piece of it. And of course, there it is, making money. We want to be honest about, hey, I want to make money as a coach. I deserve to make money as a coach. This is something worth investing in, worth paying for. Coaches need to get over that hump. Meaningful work, of course, right? But we want to get from self-promoting to solution promoting. But there's this journey of like learning how to coach, embracing the identity of a coach, letting everybody else know that I'm a coach, and then forget if I'm a coach or not a coach. I have a solution that may involve coaching, but what I'm focused on is the solution. And then we had 9 tips on engagement or enrollment. And so there's some Klubi snacks that are left over in the banners that we created about the process of giving people complimentary coaching in a way that gives them confidence to move forward with adopting it as a service, especially if it's new in their life. And the metaphor of 2 complimentary coaching sessions and Baskin Robbins and their little pink spoons. So there were some neat Klubi snacks that emerged in that section. Of course, in going through all of that, we did some freebies, right? We said, hey, if you want a 20-minute video to understand why I do 2 complimentary sessions instead of more than 2 or 1 or 0, then send an email to info@getaclue.net with the subject line, why 2 comp sessions, and we'll send you that video. We said that also for free. There's a lot of great content on my YouTube channel. Watch Get a Clue. So there that is. And then anybody can schedule with me at any time, right? If you haven't gotten them already and you want 2 complimentary sessions, either with myself or a coach that I've trained, if that's a better coach for your profile and what you're looking to get out of coaching, you can schedule on my calendar. And if I have to bring another coach onto the scene, I will. But this is all free to do. These things are all free. Now, you can check out the Professional Coaches Alliance. It's costs money to join, but it's only like $29 a month. And they've switched to a monthly model without having to be locked in to a year-long program. So that's really affordable investment in your professional journey. And she's not here right now, but hats off to Margot Garcia, who does make it a habit of being here on a weekly basis. And these are some of these banners that we're scrolling through on the way to where we are now, which is we're in 10 tips on motivation. Right. This is the 3rd section of the book. When we finish this section, we'll move on to accountability, and then we'll finish with 12 tips on practice building. Okay. But right now we're right in the middle of the year, like 26 last week and 27 this week. So I'll end up creating the banner in a little bit. But to talk about motivation, we're talking about 2 things. In coaching, there's 2 ways that we motivate, generally speaking. If there's a million things we do to motivate somebody, it all falls into 1 or 2 categories. External motivation, meaning I'm going to use a strategy or a tactic or a resource, a technique, a tactic, a strategy, a resource, right? Something like that, like a map, a set of directions, a canteen of water. That's external motivation, right? But the other side of motivation is the checkup from the neck up, getting inside and intervening in stinking thinking, limiting beliefs and emotional addictions and fears and traumas and so all of that stuff. So at the end of the day, all of motivational coaching is designed at getting people to change behavior, period. It's all about getting somebody to change a behavior, decrease an unwanted behavior, increase a wanted behavior. It's that simple, but it's tough, right? Human beings are dynamic creatures and resist change and all of that good stuff. So on the strategic side, on the external motivation side, we have some tips. And so first of all, we talked about outcomes for motivational coaching. And one thing is behavioral change, but tip number 21 talked about 5 other outcomes for coaching when we're doing motivational coaching. Tip number 22 was filling our toolbox with emotional tools. When people are struggling with emotion or imbalance, or if they're in pain or they're in fear or they're developing or not getting away from emotional addictions, we have some tools there to have conversations about balance and fulfillment when it comes to our emotional lives. Then we moved on to tip number 23, which is physical, like, drinking water and diet and exercise and breathing and some of the basics about maintaining our health and making sure we rest peacefully and we get good restorative rest rather than just going to sleep. We talked about those things in tip 23. Then, well, here's the quote there: to bed, get to bed and rest peacefully, restoratively. In tip 24, this was a big tip. I have a lot to say about relationships. It's one of my strongest areas of coaching and one of the wealthiest areas of my life. And we had like 3.5, 4 pages of full reading, but we went for it, right? We talked about attraction, which is the easy part, compatibility, which is the hard part, especially without communication, which is the part everybody seems to understand, but nobody's working as hard to get better at as I would like, right? Communication, everybody thinks they're good at it and everybody else stinks, right? But who's working to get better at being a better communicator? And how would you know if you're a good, average, below average, above average communicator? How would you know, right? But everybody knows communication is the key. So we know a lot about communication. We can improve your communication skills, especially when it comes to soft skills, leadership communication, relationship communication, and so forth. But we moved on and we talked a little bit about financial tools, right? I'm no financial guru. I'm no financial wizard. I don't have licensure, series this and series that. But I can ask you if you have a budget. I could ask you if what's left over after you do the math, is it positive or negative? We could talk about ways to increase income, decrease spending. We can ask you if you're in conversations with your spouse or partner about these matters. There's a lot of things that we could do before we refer you to a financial planner, a financial advisor, a fiduciary, a tax, somebody that can go deep with you that's licensed to do so. We can get the cork off the bottle, but we make sure you go drink that thing with a professional. A lot of times what we do in coaching isn't solving the problems, but getting you ready to solve them. And then we make sure we have a good deliverables team for the depthful expertise that we don't necessarily have legally or otherwise, right? And then last week we talked about time management tools. And we put time in quotes because I'm a big fan of letting the world know that time is undefeated because time manages itself. Time has never failed to work. Like time has moved at the speed of time, like since the beginning of time. Like Father Time has been managing time since the beginning of time. And so I make fun of it and I'm jovial, but like I wish I had more time. I need better time management. If I only had more time for that, I ran out of time for that. I don't have time for that. That's a waste of my time. I can't spend time on that. Stop it. Time has way more control over itself than we give it credit for. What we need to manage is our priorities, our decisions, our actions, our results, our vulnerabilities, our commitments, our word, our calendar. We have to manage other things that we are 100% in control of, but we have zero control over time. We only control what we do in time. Time's managing itself. So there's some tactical and tangible perspectives and tools that we offered in tip 26 to help people get away from calling it time management and calling it self-management or calendar management or priority management or action management, something that we are 100% in control of. So let me hide that banner. And that gets us to tip number 27, which is what we're going to read today. And we're still filling up our external toolbox with external strategies, tactics, resources that we can offer or bring into discussion with our coaching clients to either get them to embrace the strategies we recommend, or at least use that as a starting point to get them to the strategy that's right for them, etc. Right? But there's always a strategy for everything. There's never not a strategy. So we want strategies in our toolbox in the common areas that we're going to expect people to talk about in coaching: health, relationships, finance, mental state, relationship, right? And then in business, marketing, sales, operations, finance, staffing, team building. There's usual suspects, and we want to be ready. We don't have to have every strategy under the sun, but we have to have enough to have conversations with people to get them ready to take action, get them ready to make changes, is where we're coming from. So if you're ready to go, page 110 in your book at home. Now, what's interesting about this print-on-demand era, I will tell you that somehow, some way, in one of the early runs of the copies that I've got, like my book is cruising along, and then all of a sudden, right in the middle of the book, there's like 2 pages of like somebody else's book in the middle of my book. This is the print-on-demand era where you self-publish on Amazon, and I'm like, oh, it's imperfect, but it's kind of perfect. I like it. Like it's like right there directly in the middle of the book. These 2 pieces of paper just show up, and there's a barcode for somebody else's book, and it's called BOFO by whoever you are out there. What is this? JL Bueno, like JL Good, right? So BOFO by JL Good. Props to you. You're part of my book. I'm hopefully in some way I'm part of yours. All right. So here we go. Business tools, tip number 27 on page 110. And I say this because I don't know if does that count as a page number? No, it doesn't. It's in there, but there's no page number. So 111 is true 111. Here we go. Business tools. Solopreneurs, micro, small business owners, professional service brokers, and top producers like real estate agents, financial advisors, insurance agents, and mortgage lending officers, especially those building teams, need lots of help on the business side of things. Most of them are building a business around a trade, skill set, product, or service they are very good at while they're still Or there still may be huge learning curves for the best practices of actually building, running a business. Here is a quote, by no means exhaustive, end quote, list of tools I have used with the greatest percentage of my entrepreneurial clients over the last 15, now 16 years. Because I can't believe it's like actually over 6 months ago that I was writing this, Sue. So that counts as over 6 months, counts as one more year. All right, here we go. Anyway, so this is entrepreneurial, solopreneur, micro business, real estate agents, micro business owners, people got really good doing something and now they're going for it on their own. So now they're not just good at their thing, but they got to be good at all the things. Right? That's what these tips are for. All right, here we go. Business planning. If the business needs money, if the employees need a vision, mission to buy into and guide behaviors, decisions, if leaders need succession plans, including exit strategy for ownership, a business plan should help. Most small business owners have no plan. During one of my coaches' trainings in 2008, I had an assignment of attending a full-day SCORE workshop on business planning, and I've been able to effectively coach my clients in this area ever since. All right, one day. Now I've been able to coach people on business planning for 16, 17 years. I gave up one day, one Saturday. All right. Strategic staffing. A business is crippled in its growth if it either fails to hire or fails at hiring. The cost of making bad hires is enormous, not just for the loss of material productivity, time, and resources, but also for the mental anguish and very real aversion to hiring that leads to overwhelm, poor customer service, burnout, and all kinds of other issues. See the sample one-pager that summarizes my generic approach to strategic staffing that I customize for each client who really needs the confidence to make good hires. And I'm realizing right now as I read this that there should have been an image of my one-pager. So let me go ahead and let you guys know. I'll put an email in here. And if you guys want to get my one-page summary of strategic staffing, the strategic step-by-step approach to strategic staffing, which it's not perfect, but it eliminates so many staffing mistakes, increases retention, reduces cost per hire, gets the seat filled quicker. Sometimes it doesn't get the seat filled quicker because if you follow it properly, you won't just put the wrong person in the seat just to fill it quickly enough. You'll take your time and put the right person in the seat if it takes a little longer. If anybody wants my one-pager on strategic staffing, you can send an email to info@getaclue.net. I'll put that in the banner when I'm done reading the rest of the tip. Let me continue. Contracts and agreements. Trust but verify, as the saying goes. It is remarkable how many agreements in business are not captured in writing. Even the agreements that are captured in writing often fail to address worst-case scenarios that neither party wants to acknowledge might occur. A review of existing agreements or the creation of missing agreements can do wonders for eliminating liability or poorly setting expectations for all parties with an expectation to perform. Here's one of these things where I'm writing this up and I'm going, remembering the times where I have failed at this very thing that I am now advising others on. So I can recall all the times where I've helped people avoid a lot of mistakes by getting them to focus on contracts and agreements. But it's through my own growing pains that I got there. But we can save thousands, if not millions of dollars by taking a look at that one key element. All right, next, trusted advisors. We as coaches cannot be the only trusted advisors our business owning clients have in place. Find out who the lawyer, tax accountant, fiduciary, key consultants, advisors, or board members are, and make introductions to help your clients get trusted people in place, ideally before they are needed in emergency or unexpected scenarios. I'm happy to tell you that I had a conversation with the CEO of a company yesterday that I believe is getting to the issue like in time. And I believe that there's going to be a willingness among the executive team to bring in the coaching and the soft skill development that they need. But I can also tell you that one person quit already. So do you follow? Like this person knows they cannot afford in a 20-person team to have any more talented people quit. They know that. All right, so now do you want to talk about soft skills? Now do we want to stop sweeping this under the rug? Now do we want to learn how to be professional in our communication and have integrity around the company? Now is it like before you lose any more good people? Okay, so trusted advisors. So I'm happy to be that trusted advisor and have those trusted advisors. I'm happy to get those relationships, those referrals, but ideally before the emergency. Thank you, Sue. All right, finally, leadership and soft skills training, of course, you guys, right? I'd said at the very beginning of the session, this is a marketing book. So without fear, let me tell you that from being a likable boss to increasing presentation skills, to communicating a vision, to effective delegation, to having or being a role model, leadership and soft skills are often the unsung hero tools for business owners. I believe and coined the phrase that, quote, soft skills make strong leaders, teams, and organizations, end quote. I own a comprehensive soft skill training library with titles such as supervising others, conflict resolution, bargaining and negotiation, civility, diversity, work-life balance, remote work effectiveness, change management, train the trainer, accountability in the workplace, motivating employees, interviewing skills, vendor management, and dozens more. There are endless additional business coaching tools out there. Hopefully, something from the summary above adds value to your toolbox. There we go. All right, that's it. There's so many more business tools, productivity tools we're going to get into next week. But what a high-level overview of some of the critical tools that small and micro business owners can embrace, pay attention to, optimize, that will either increase their revenue or decrease their liabilities and expenses. Sue, welcome as always to another installment of Get a Clue in 52. Thank you for being here. What say you about today's tip or anything at all?
Yeah, thank you. I think what you just said, that the tips that or the areas that you've included in this tip, there is so much value in those, in just highlighting opportunity to consider those and go into them in more detail and difference that can make to an organization. And I think it's, as you said, it's about being on the front foot. Put some of those in place, give them some thought, give them the value they deserve, and you could save hours and hours of heartache in your business. So
Yeah, and this is, these are tips, right? So this is meant, we're not, as I mentioned at the beginning of the year, I can't believe we're in July now, right? But going all the way back to the very introduction, I think I read the introduction on the first session, but I was like, what do I want you to get out of this book, right? And I remember declaring in the introduction that, and I want to kind of read it word for word, that well, I'm not going to read word for word if I can't find it right away. But I declared several times over that these tips are not full. They're not comprehensive. They're not complete. We're not writing the book or the essay or the white paper on any of this stuff. What we're doing is I'm collecting 52 tips that stand alone with some value on their own that get us thinking about this particular area, but collectively they contribute to a nice piece of work here. So today is such an obvious example of that. I mean, it's a tip. Well, I'm not, I wasn't, it wasn't very tactical. Just introducing at a high level these business tools, right? It wasn't like a screwdriver. It wasn't like, 5 turns and a milestone to look for on directions somewhere. But it is generally, helpful for us to think about, who are our trust advisors? Do I make a list of these professionals? Do I have 2 or 3 people that I can refer in each of these categories? Just taking 10 minutes to do that will change who we are as coaches, first of all, right? But also it will put us in a better position to help our clients as well. What's going on around leadership and soft skills? What are my contracts and agreements? I can think of one instance, right? One client of mine, he's an attorney. And when he was at a certain stage of growth in his business, he was the only attorney, so he had to do all the work, right? But he was coming out of like doing everything he could to build his practice. So he would do some favors and there's some deals, and he'd do some pricing, and he'd be loose with holding the customers accountable because he was wanting to get the business. Does that make sense? So he had there was a portion of his book of business that was behind or not paying, but he still had to serve, and he had conditioned them to expect things, and he hadn't fully transitioned yet. And I remember I had him look at his contracts, and I'm like, look, I come in every week and you're talking about this person not paying, this person not paying, this person not paying. After a while, those people are going to go away, and you're only going to have people, but you got to create the new contract and set the new expectation so that when clients are not paying, you have already put in writing that you can file for substitute of attorney, right? And legally, no hard feelings, but you're not paying, so let the courts give you an attorney then, right? If you can't, right, you got to have that, whatever, whatever the way is to protect yourself, right? Because, they're fiduciaries. They have an obligation to serve the public, but there's some way to put a boundary there and protect oneself as well. But here he was doing billable work for people that were never going to pay him,
Yeah.
right? So he's robbing Peter to pay. And then the people that are paying, he's falling behind in that work. And now they want to file substitutive attorney because he's not getting to their stuff quick enough because he's still doing work for people that aren't paying. So that was where he was in a phase of growth. And just looking at his contract and agreement gave him the strength to get away from this and more of that. And now he's got, more lawyers on board, and he's grown. He's got 2 partners and a full-blown firm, but he was stuck in that one spot for a while until we just simply looked at contracts and agreements. So you coaches out there, you figure out how to implement these tools that we're just introducing in a very generic sense. When you got a real client on the line, to me, this is a Bible. This is what I have. I'm walking around with this knowledge in my head every session, all of it. So what else say you, Sue? It's nice for you to be here always. I always get amplified and pumped up when I get to interact with you around this material.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is right. That what you've presented here is a tip, but it just prompts that thinking to go, what is it that, what tools do I have as a coach that I can explore further, that I can become more adept at and build my credibility, but balancing that from a coaching perspective with how much is that relevant to, or I guess how much can you put into that versus building up your trusted advisors. I guess it depends too what's your background in training that you bring to your coaching. What's your field of expertise, and where do you need that set of trusted advisors?
Yeah, well, I remember early in my career going to the networking groups where you would go, like there were referral passing networking groups. Like, I'm not shy about mentioning Business Networking International, founded by Ivan Meisner, who I've gotten to interact with. I met him in Vegas. We partied in his hotel room suite at a conference. One fantastic guy. And, he's part of that Brian Tracy, Tony Alessandra, Jim Cathcart, the people that have come before us that we look up to, right? So Ivan Meisner and Business Networking International, I remember going to meetings early on in my career to network, right? And they're specifically structured lead passing groups. But what happens is the groups are big. If you got a group where there's like 40 people into it, you've got one vertical, right? There's one seat for every vertical. So there's one real estate agent, one insurance person, but sometimes they'd fight like, well, are you doing commercial or residential? And we have one commercial agent, one residential. And of course they would want to take both. Like, wait, are you a fiduciary or are you a financial advisor or are you an estate planning attorney? And like they would, the lines would be drawn, right? So there's usual suspects where the seats were hard to get. Always a mortgage broker, always a real estate agent, always an insurance person, the usual suspects, life service professionals, right? But then there'd be plumbers, electricians, painters. There would be home audio video techs. They would come in and do home audio video installations. There would be pavers. There would be landscapers. There would be, do you know what I'm saying? So there's natural groups that would tend to there were groups within the group that they would huddle together and they would become what was called power partners. If I'm a plumber, it makes sense for me to know an electrician, a landscaper, a roofer, and a painter, right? If I am a trainer, right, a physical trainer, it's going to be a good idea for me to know the nutrition person or the exercise physiologist or the mindset coach, right? Do you understand? So there's some power, like your deliverables team, your power partners, you want to be well networked, and it's interesting. Remember way back in the beginning of the year, we're talking about just becoming a coach. Just learning how to do it. It's hard enough. Then you got to figure out who your power partners are going to be. And all the way down the road, you've been promoting yourself. You've been giving complimentary coaching sessions. You've been enrolling people. And now you got real live issues that people are bringing to the sessions. And you've got to bring strategies, tactics, and resources. Now, as we advance in this section on motivation, we're going to move towards the mindset part of motivation, but we're still in the external. external, right? Strategies, tactics, resources. So there's strategies for health, strategies for relationships, strategies for finance, strategies for business development, team building, etc. So a couple more tools, time management, etc. There's a couple more tools in this external bag, and then we're going to have a couple of tips to close out the section on mindset. What are the tools that I bring to bear when I need to get somebody out of their own way, when we need to do checkup for the neck up? Because I can give you the best strategy in the world, but if you believe something that's wrong, or if you're misinformed, or if you're afraid, or if you've got a habit, or you've got an emotional addiction, all the strategy in the world isn't going to matter. You'll find a way to not do it or sabotage it. So that's where we're heading towards as I kind of reset the overview of what we're getting into, or where we're at right now within these 10 tips on motivation. We're on tip number 27 today, and that is basic, very basic business tools that are not comprehensive in and of themselves. First of all, I didn't go as deep on any of the tools that I mentioned, and I haven't gone as wide on all the business building tools that we could mention, but those are some usual suspects, good ones that'll get us started. So what else? Comments, questions before we do a last call? I've got a board meeting I need to attend in about 29 minutes. I'm alone in the house, so I got to check on the dogs and all of the good stuff. I want to do a shout out to my son AJ. I moved him into college earlier in this week. I want you guys to know it's like all of a sudden the house is kind of quiet, and even though it's summertime, it's a little colder in the house. And we said I'd cried more the day before than the day of, but then yesterday I was in super reflection, and I mentioned my son a lot and wear it on my sleeve how much I'm motivated by my family, by everything that I do. And so just, shout out to us, Klubeck family. This book, of course, is dedicated to my family, and everything I do is all about, Marianne and Abigail and Brody. They're up in LA right now. Abigail's acting and modeling, and AJ's at school, and I've got the house and the dogs all to myself. And it's a little quiet, it's a little cold, but it's super prideful and joyful. And shout out to us. If you're thinking about anything else you want to say, Sue, I think I'm going to maybe take a minute and screen share and show the Integrity Game Learning Library. But let's go ahead and do last call. Like when I did last call, my last call was shout out to us for moving the first one into college. But what do you got? What do you got
I've
today?
got nothing else. That's awesome to have gone through that. But I've got nothing else to.
All right. So okay. Well, so let me just do this. Let me just do a review, right? We earlier in the year we talked about public speaking as a way to self-promote, and so we offered another free copy of 8 Steps to Fearless Public Speaking. So info@getaclue.net with the subject line "Be Fearless," and we'll give you an ebook on 8 steps to fearless public speaking. That's totally free. Then we want to talk about these coupon codes, not totally free, right? We charge money for our smart goal setting course, but I think we charge $297. So a $100 off code would make it $197 for you. TIG VIP 100. Just hang on to that. I'll show you where you can redeem. Then the other thing that we have coming up in September is we're going to run the 90-day challenge again. So the 90-day challenge is the Integrity Game. The Integrity Game is 10 sets of questions that we struggle to answer and understand as fully as we can. And we will understand the questions, answer the questions, and make sure our answers go together, and then make sure we're taking action on our answers, right? That's the Integrity Game. So we ran it last year. It's an evergreen program. If you buy it now, it's there. Everything that you need, the workbook, the Facebook group, the 2 sessions with an Integrity Game certified coach, all of the recordings with all of the subject matter experts. It's all in there evergreen right now for $497. But number one, you can get $200 off of it right now with this code TIG VIP 200. So then it would only be $297 for you. And why do I say that? Because we're going to jack it up to $997 come September 1st of this year. Why? Because I'm right now in the process of recruiting all new subject matter experts to do another round of recordings. So right now there's 12, 13 recordings in the program. There's going to be 24, 26 by the time we get done with running it back this fall. So we call it the 90-day challenge because that's how long it took me to build it. But it's evergreen, and you can take yourself through it at your own pace. But this coming fall, we are going to take another 90 days and really create structural integrity for ourselves and answer these 10 questions that make up the Integrity Game. And if you've been following along with Get a Clue in 52 all year long, or any portion of it, a lot of these tips show up when we endeavor to answer these 10 questions for ourselves. It takes engagement, it takes motivation, it takes accountability in order to play the Integrity Game. So I want to make sure that you guys know about that. And then, of course, the other thing that we have is what we do 3 times a month is I hold online office hours session, which is group mentoring. And so any of my clients, any of my former students, You guys are all invited to show up. You got to contact me and get an invite to the calendar and talk about your situation. But 3 times a month, we do live Ask Me Anything sessions. And sometimes the sessions are themed by the points on the integrity game model. Our archives are all mentoring sessions around the content that we're covering every week in this program. All of this stuff is being mentored around because of the coaching and leadership training. So it is an e-course form. When you get into group mentoring, you log into the membership site and you get over 100 recorded mentoring sessions plus invitations to all of the future live sessions. So having shared all of that, let me see if I can get into presentation mode and go into share screen mode. And sharing is great. Let's go to share screen. Will it ask me what I want to do? Tell me, can you Sue, tell me if you can see my screen right now. Tell me, can you see my screen?
Yep.
You can see it? All right, you guys. So what we're getting at here, first of all, is when you get to the membership site for the Integrity Game, and I've logged in now. So this is the Integrity Game Learning Library, and a lot of these things that I was just mentioning to you show up right here. So here's the 90-day challenge. We have a confident communicator course. I haven't made you an offer around that one yet. With the smart goal setting courses here, 8 steps to fearless public speaking, but you can get the ebook for free. We have a strategic staffing course. These ones aren't ready yet. I'm not promoting staffing and the assessments course. We've got some tweaks to figure out on the funnel page and making sure the email campaign behind it is good. But group mentoring is right here. This absolutely works. Can you still see my screen, Sue?
Yep.
Group mentoring. Does it say group mentoring right here?
Yep.
Yeah. So if all of this comes with one-on-one sessions with myself or an Integrity Game certified coach, but here's all of the archives from 2022, all of the archives from 2021, all of the archives from 2020, and you can see that these are organized and categorized by motivation, by accountability, by engagement. 3 of the sections that we're covering in this book on a weekly basis that we're just scratching the surface on, we go deep in our mentoring and our coaching sessions here. So this is just the archives of live sessions with role playing and case studies and fill in the blanks and working through the workbook and win sharing and all kinds of good stuff. So I just want to give you guys an idea of what's happening there. And as we come back to the 90-day challenge, we're excited. We're going to start this thing in September. And so this comes with 2 sessions, the Facebook group, a workbook to take notes into. And I populated my workbook last year and provided samples so everybody could see me doing my own homework. And then, of course, all of these sessions are recorded. And we're going to be making a brand new set of recordings this year. That's when the price is going to go up. So it's never been a better time to get into the 90-day challenge than right now. And hopefully you can email us if you want a reminder on what those coupon codes were. Let me get into stop sharing. Have I stopped sharing? Can you see me now, Stu?
Yeah.
Right. And then there was something earlier, email. What did I say earlier I was going to give you guys? Oh, my strategic staffing. Email info@getaclue.net for the strategic staffing 1-pager. It's a 1-page overview of what I take clients through when it comes to strategic staffing. It's a general blueprint, and then it gets customized for each particular assignment based on the dynamics of their organization. So you guys, that's a freebie. I was just showing you stuff that's paid that I'm giving discount codes for. This one is another one of these things for free that we're happy to give out to show you guys because there's value in it of it by itself. Of course, you might want more after you get that value, but we're happy to give that value. That's just the name of the game. It's been proven throughout time that if you give somebody a risk-free trial of something that has value and that gives people an idea of what they're getting into, the rate of adoption will go up. And we hope that we're your soft skills solution for any form of business or life endeavor that you're into. So last call for comments, questions, jokes, stories, anecdotes, anything for this week, and get a clue in 52. Last call.
Just read it. Get into it.
Read it. Yeah, so to review, we covered tip number 27 today. So we're on the other side of the year. We're past the halfway point. It's all downhill from here. Tip number 28 next week, we'll continue to fill our external toolbox. And a couple more tips left before we finish motivation and get into our 10 full tips on accountability. Going to be a lot of fun when we do that. So for those of you that are watching out there on social media somewhere, whether it's YouTube, or Facebook or here on LinkedIn or those of you that are watching a recording in the future, thank you so much for being here. We hope this has been supremely valuable, and we hope to hear from you among any of the offers that we made for all kinds of other ways that you can engage with Get a Clue content, the integrity game. It's all the same stuff, it's just different brand. And we're happy to do it every Friday. Anything else, Sue?
No.
All right, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here live with me. It always makes a difference. Thank you. All right, Sue, we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.